Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 1 for this week. And this again comes at the suggestion of one of my subscribers that he said, okay, it's interesting to look at the El Nino and see what the upcoming winter might be like, but what about the upcoming hurricane season, which is a great question. And so I thought I would examine that. And have always been a numbers geek. So this was a really fun one for me to do, to look back through history at all these numbers and try to make some sense of it. So let's go on ahead here. The question again, is it coming, the El Nino, and what does it mean for the upcoming hurricane season? Well, here's how the normals have changed. The normals are evaluated over a 30-year period, much the way that the same normal high and low temperatures are. So 1951 to 80, 61 to 90, and 71 to 2000, the averages for those 30-year periods were remarkably similar, about 10 to 11 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 majors. Then from 1981 to 2010, it increased a little bit and increased even more from 1991 to 2020. So the normals now are 14, 7, and 3. Now, could some of that be due to climate change? Yes, but I think another contributing factor here is the fact that the remote sensing from satellites continues to get better and better and better. And so we have the ability now to go back and look at some storms in hindsight and reevaluate them. And in some cases, we have found that there was a storm there that we didn't think qualified to start with. And so some of it is just due to the fact that the instrumentation that we use now to evaluate tropical systems is as good as it's ever been. And so that probably accounts as well for some of that increase. Okay, so the way that NOAA evaluates El Ninos and La Ninas, they use something called the Oceanic Nino Index, or ONI. You know there had to be an acronym there, right? Now, the ONI is defined as the rolling 3-month average anomaly, and anomaly means difference from average, in the surface waters of the east central tropical Pacific Ocean near the international date line. So we're looking at the tropical Pacific, especially in the central sections. Now, index values of plus 0.5 or higher indicate El Nino, and values of minus 0.5 or lower indicate La Nina. Values between minus 0.5 and plus 0.5 indicate neutral conditions, which is where we're at right now. Now, currently, the March, April, May value, which is the latest number that we have, is plus 0.1, which is neutral. But it has increased significantly from a minus 0.7 value back during the December, January, February period. So we are definitely trending upward, and that's really the first time this has happened in 3 years. So currently we are neutral, but we are heading toward an El Nino. So I thought I would look at this in a couple of different ways. My first methodology is this. I took a look at all the years since 1950 where the March, April, May value, the same latest value that we have for this year, was neutral, but it reached El Nino status by the August, September, October time period. Now, why did I pick August, September, October? Well, September 10th is the climatological peak of the hurricane season. So I figured, okay, let's say that the El Nino was definitely in progress, okay, had been established by the 3-month period centered on September, which is the peak of the season. And this is what I found. Okay, so we have all these years from 1951 to 2009. Let me lean back here so you can see it. And in all of those years, except 2004, the number of named storms and hurricanes and major hurricanes is below normal. And so just looking at that, you would say, okay, well, similar circumstances, we would expect something below, or a good chance of being below, that 14, 7, and 3 average, okay? Then what I decided to do was look at it a slightly different way, where I'd look at all the seasons where the March, April, May value was neutral, but this time the El Nino values were achieved by the end of the year, which would be the 3-month period centered on December, November, December, and January. When I did that, and I'm really gonna, I'll tell you what, let me just take myself out of the picture here so that you can see this clearly. There we go. So that added 3 years to the list, 1968, 1979, and 2014. And in all of those years, they were below normal as well. 68, 8, 5, and 0, 79, 9, 6, and 2, and 2014, 8, 6, and 2. So if you look at all these years here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years using these two methodologies combined, where we started off neutral and ended up with an El Nino either by September or definitely by the end of the year, and all but one had below normal numbers in terms of named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes. So let me get my cursor back up here. So why the higher forecast numbers? And let me put my face back in here. There we go. So the reason, and the team at Colorado State is the most famous team for making their seasonal forecast. Bill Gray started doing this, I think, back in 1984, and it's sort of the benchmark for seasonal hurricane forecasts. So why the higher forecast numbers? Well, El Nino causes stronger westerly winds in the upper atmosphere across the tropical Atlantic. This tends to shear apart westward moving tropical systems. So tropical systems are trying to accumulate heat in a centralized location, and if the entire system is moving in this direction and the upper level winds above it are going in the opposite direction, it tends to shear it apart. It tends to try to take that heat and displace it, and thus weakens the system or never lets it get started in the first place. Now, the folks at Colorado State believe that the anomalously, unusually warm sea surface temperatures in the tropical Atlantic may tend to counteract the effects of the increased shear caused by the El Nino, and that's why they are going for 15 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 majors. The normal is 14, 7, and 3. So it's just about a normal season is what they are predicting. We shall see. And the last thing that I wanted to show you here, this is what they're referring to. These are sea surface temperature anomalies as of the 11th of June, or yesterday. And you can see two things here. You can see the development of the El Nino out in here. You see, this is the equator. This is South America, so just off the west coast of South America. The waters are really getting much warmer, and those warm SST anomalies are extending all the way back into the middle of the Pacific. And then the tropical Atlantic is very, very warm, okay, all the way from the coast of Africa. Oops, let me go back there. All the way from the coast of Africa over toward the Caribbean. Now, interestingly, once you get north of the Bahamas, it's actually quite a bit below normal, but most tropical systems, especially in the core of the season, form out in this region here. So certainly the waters are very, very warm there. And of course, we don't know what this area is going to look like once we get into August, September, and October. It may end up being considerably warmer than it is now. So that is their idea. That's why they're going for a normal season instead of a below normal season, which is what you would expect with an oncoming El Nino. And we'll have to see how it works out. Now, the one final comment I want to make, and I've made this for years, and it ticks me off when I see television stations and social media and so forth, as soon as they come out with the seasonal outlook and they make it public, then they say, oh my goodness, it's going to be an above normal season and we're all going to die. Well, again, look back to 1992, okay? The year of Hurricane Andrew, one of only 4 Category 5 hurricanes to ever hit the United States. That was predicted to be a below normal season because of an El Nino, and it did turn out to be below normal in terms of the number of storms. There were only 7 named storms and 4 hurricanes, and I believe Andrew was the only major. Don't tell anybody in Homestead, Florida, that it was a below normal season. That storm annihilated, and that's not an overstatement, it annihilated Homestead, Florida, okay? And did severe damage even up the coast of Florida from that point. And then it made a second landfall in the Gulf of Mexico. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many there are, okay? I understand from a statistical standpoint that the more dominoes you have on the playing board, the better chance one of them is going to fall. I get that. But the thing about it is, you could have 15 named storms in the middle of the Atlantic that never hit land, and who cares, except maybe some folks in the shipping lanes. Or you can have one Category 4 or 5 hit a populated area, and the impact is enormous, okay? So the way you prepare for a hurricane season should never depend on the seasonal outlook. I don't care who prepares it, okay? You plan like it's coming straight for you. Once you have that plan in place, you go on about your life just like you would with a tornado watch. And if it comes, you're ready, you know what to do. And if it doesn't, you're thankful and life goes on, okay? But it doesn't really matter what these outlooks say. And the science is not good enough for us to be able to say, oh, it's only going to be an above normal season from a number of storms, but here's where they're likely to go. Heck, 5 days out, the average air for a hurricane forecast is over 200 miles. You think we're going to be able to tell you where it's going to hit in 3 months from now? Of course not, okay? So bottom line is, it's interesting to look at. It's fun numbers to play with. The bottom line is that nobody really knows if there's going to be one biggie and where it's going to hit. And that's really all that matters for the people that actually live in that location. All right, folks, that is bonus weather video number 1 for this week. Hope it made some sense to you. We'll have the next one coming up on, well, actually, we're going to be doing this every day now with the new format. So we'll have another one for you tomorrow, and hope you'll join us for that. So you all take care, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.